Rococo art and architecture was a style that came from France during the mid-18th century. Rococo comes from a word called rocaille, which means a decorative rock or shellwork. It was during the reign of King Louis XIV when Rococo became the center of art style. This was also the time when the nobility and middle class celebrated their freedom from tight control. Rococo art has an intensely, highly decorative style of their predecessors, although it had an appearance of something much more playful and lighthearted. Firstly, they are known for their newfound preference of pastel colors. Pink was used specifically to paint the outside part of buildings and was a popular color choice that was used for a boys' room during that time period. It was perceived to represent masculinity as a closer and lighter version of the color red. Pastel colors symbolize the happiness and lightness of that time period. They also used curved lines, ornament shapes that looked like shells, and plants as well, as the rooms were inspired with ovals. Their patterns at the time were very complicated and detailed. For example, the Chamber of France, King Louis XIV at the Palace of Versailles. Here we have a portrait of Marie Antoinette. This portrait portrays the prime Rococo fashion and what every woman wanted to wear during this time period. Marie Antoinette was married to King Louis XIV, which endorsed her into the role of power. Marie's clothing represents her power that she is of great importance. Some of these pieces that Marie is wearing makes her look so important is due to her dress being the color blue. If you wore the color blue, it made you come across as wealthy because blue was such a difficult color to come by. Also, the size of the outfit makes her look larger than life. So when she walks into the room, all the attention is drawn to her, which during this time is what women wanted their outfits to portray. Another piece that Marie is wearing in this portrait, which became popular during the Rococo era, was her headpiece. The bigger and grander the headpiece, the more it was known that you were someone of great elegance and power. Another valuable piece of Marie's dress is a prints on the dress. These prints were made of silk, and each of these prints were hand-sewn. Now we can dive into the construction and what was underneath these extravagant and intriguing dresses. During the Rococo, there was a new piece that was introduced, which was panniers, or wide hoops worn under the woman's skirt, which became a huge fashion statement during this period. The wider the panniers were worn for more formal occasions, while the smaller panniers were worn for everyday use. Women's clothing consisted of a corset with narrow sleeves adorned with cascades of lace and ribbons. Then one would wear a corset to constrict the waist to make it have a contrast to the huge skirt right below it. These were the main pieces, which then the heavy fabric of the dress would lay upon. A high-class court culture called Rococo flourished in France once Louis became king. The Rococo era started portraying their clothes as a piece of art. It was a very distinctive period because of its importance of detail in each of their pieces, also being very asymmetrical and its major differences when it came to the style of their wardrobes. The main fabric that they would use when creating their clothing were satin and lace, usually in light-colored pastel shades. The Rococo fashion for women consisted of being looser in the dresses and skirts. They wanted to have more fun and a whimsical feel when creating their clothing. The products they would use would be more complex and include the finest materials. The Swing is a painting brought to life by Jean-Renoir Fragonard in 1767. His tools for this masterpiece was oil on canvas. Fragonard specialized in playful erotic compositions such as the swing, which he is famously known for. The swing was known as two other names as well, Lucky Happenings on the Swing and the Happy Accidents on the Swing. This is indicative to the risque moment that is being shared between the lovers in this painting. This work of outstanding artistry is believed to be commissioned by French libertine Baron de Saint Julien, who wanted a picture of his mistress being pushed by a bishop with himself hiding in the overgrown, lush bushes daringly admiring her charming legs, but was turned away from many artists due to the odd nature of his vision for this painting. However, Fragonard jumped at the opportunity. This painting also holds a great deal of symbolism. Swings at the time were interpreted as a sign of infidelity, which is perfectly depicted here. At a glance it appears to be a young woman innocently at play, but is actually quite racy. As the maiden swings her legs higher and higher, she kicks her legs apart for his viewing pleasure. She sends a slipper flying into the distance towards a figure that is believed to represent Cupid, the Roman god of desire and erotic love. In the 18th century France, a woman's shoeless foot symbolized nudity, as did the man's uncovered head and his hat, reaching towards the young girl's parted legs. Cupid has his fingers raised to his lips to point out the secretive nature of the impending affair, imploring silence. Ultimately, truly a perfect embodiment of the Rococo painting style.